Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday. It is Convos. Today we have a special guest co-host. Her name is Lerae Funderburg. She is the CEO of Funderburg Law. Of course, I am Dricka M. Carter, the one and only, the podcast host, a serial entrepreneur, mom, wife extraordinaire. And today we're going to be talking about a few things about transitioning, about business law. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. Make sure that you share this episode to your friends and family, and especially some business owners that might be listening. But Lerae, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners and let us know who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I know it's been a long time coming. I am glad that we finally are able to sit here and chat. I've
Yes.
been following your movement for a while, so it's definitely good to just have some FaceTime with you. But
Yes.
yes, I'm Lerae Funderburg. I am the founder of Funderburg Law, which is a boutique law firm here in Atlanta that focuses on entertainment and business transactions. We do a lot of contract drafting, review, and negotiation, registration and maintenance of intellectual property, specifically copyrights and trademarks, and a little estate planning. Also, I'm the founder of Lawyer Mommy, Lerae, and that is my digital e-commerce business. I found earlier in my career, I was giving out all the game for free, right? And it was hurting my pocket. So I was like trying to
Mm.
help everybody all the time. And I'm like, listen, you could just go here and do this and it'll be fine. And, quickly that got a little bit tiring. So I created Lawyer Mommy for people who still needed my services, but couldn't necessarily afford, my law firm prices. So that was kind of like for the DIYers, where I provide contract templates for any type of business. I also provide like DIY courses where I walk you through the process of filing your own entities, trademarks, copyrights, that type of thing. And also my latest and greatest business baby is Elevate Legally. She's still coming together, but I did launch her earlier this year, and that is my holistic wellness brand, based on a journey of my own, a personal journey that I went through. I was like, you know what? I need to bring this work to the people. And so, yes, I guess I'm a serial entrepreneur too. But
Yes, ma'am. I'm loving it. I love, love, love. And I was just gonna get into that, right? But you said so much. Okay, so let me break this down. So with the contracts, you said you review, go over the contract, make sure that the contract's on the up and up for the client and for the business owner that they're being contracted with. And people always say, make sure you have a contract, make sure you get it in writing. But
Mhm.
what about the people who are not enforcing their contracts? How do you start to enforce your contract? Do you have to have a retainer on your lawyer? Do you call somebody when something goes wrong? Is it too late once
Yeah.
it gets to that point? Like, it's so many questions that business owners have around contracts. What would you say to sum up how to break down, a contract, or how to look at contracts and
Absolutely.
find your lawyer?
So you definitely want to have a lawyer for starters. A lot of these contracts are written in what I call legalese, right? And it's basically only a language that another attorney can understand. I actually draft my contracts in plain English because I think it's very important for my clients to understand what it is that they're contracting to. So a lot of times, clients will come to me and they have like certain terms or, conditions that they want to be included, or the other party will have certain terms and conditions that they want to be included, but the contract has a whole lot of other like boilerplate and other things that are necessary to protect both of the parties, really. Even though I only care about my client. um, but so for them to know when their contract is being breached, when the other party is not performing the way that they're expected to, and even for them to know what it is that they're supposed to do, I'm like, you need to be able to read this contract, go back and consult it so you can point to, X, Y, and Z and be like, hey, okay, this is, not happening and it should be, and these are the steps that I need to take in order to rectify it. But definitely having a lawyer is helpful because a lot of times people don't budge unless they hear from an attorney, right? I have
Right.
people
Right.
all the time who will be like, I've been messaging him and I haven't heard back, and he's just kind of giving me the runaround, and that will happen. But as soon as, a lawyer with some letterhead, issue something, they're like, okay, all right, we're listening now. And then you start to
Hmm.
get some results. So I definitely advise having an attorney. I do understand that a lot of times people really can't afford one at the outset, and like I said, that was why I had started, the Lawyer Mommy brand, because I'm like, you do need a contract, right? A contract is definitely going to for one, normally when contracts come into play, it's because money is an issue, right? And so
Mhm.
your payment clauses are going to state like who gets what when. And so it leaves very little to dispute when it comes
Right.
to compensation, right? And
Right. But the
also
deliverables on both ends.
exactly, exactly. And so a contract is also going to like minimize issues because it definitely encourages cooperation between the parties. Everybody's roles and responsibilities are mapped out. Intellectual property, which I deal with a lot as far as copyrights and trademarks, is going to state like who owns what intellectual property, what rights are transferred, if any. And it helps to, just kind of create certainty between both of the parties because everybody knows exactly what their roles and responsibilities are. They know what to expect from the other party, all of those things. And so I always say, get a contract. And if you can't afford to have an attorney draft one for you, like that's what, my templates and stuff come into play because you definitely want to have something written, something that binds somebody to what it is that they're saying
They're
that
saying that they're offering. Yes, I
they're
love it. I love it. That is great advice, especially with people drafting up their own contracts, people going on websites and finding stuff and getting templates. You can actually get a template from an attorney, y'all. Lerae is gonna have those contracts drafted up for you. She also offers the service of helping you do your own trademark and your own copyright on those intellectual pieces of property that you own, right? That means those webinars that you're selling, those digital products that you're selling, those courses that you're selling that people are in, and it's big right now. People are jumping into courses and the next day that they're an expert, right? So
yes.
since we're talking about contracts and somebody coming in and stealing your entire course, so somebody coming in and stealing your entire ebook, how would a business owner fight back against that?
Absolutely. And so it's really sad that that's happening, right? Especially in our community, because it's like, why would you take from me, sis? Like, I was trying to school you, put you on, and you
Put you
just came
on.
in really to just steal my whole everything. And you know what? I think it's funny because it's funny that I'm saying this because honestly, the biggest purchasers of my contract templates are other attorneys, which
Wow.
I always find to. I'm like, so
Wow.
y'all out here reselling my contract templates.
And probably are, and probably are.
Right.
But I mean, imposter syndrome is so
It's a
huge right
thing.
now. And
It's a
I have some friends that have communities, but I also have a community, right? And
thing.
I wanted to finish my community before I joined my friends' community because I
Mhm.
did not want the imposter syndrome to set in on what I was doing. I
Right.
wanted to have tunnel vision and finish and finalize what I was doing first and
Mhm.
then go ahead and support my friend because I know her community is bomb. I know what she has to offer is bomb and vice versa.
Absolutely.
But I didn't want to be saying, "Oh, I could add that to mine, and I could pull this from here, and I could." And everybody is inspired by somebody. Don't get us wrong when we're
Mhm.
saying don't go to somebody else's class and learn because you're gonna learn different. I literally had. Let me tell you a funny story. Was at a bar like not too long ago, maybe a week or two ago, and the young lady stopped me and she said, "Oh, I came to your text class. It was a great class." And I still went to, I guess she kind of felt like compelled to kind of explain why she went to another person's class after she had taken my class, right?
Mhm.
And she was like, I learned everything from you, fundamentals, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, and she was just telling me, I went to the other lady class, but your class really gave me the foundation. And I
Yes.
was like, oh, great, thank you so much. But you have to think about people learn differently.
Absolutely. And the other thing is to your point, very much so. I actually have been somebody who does that as well. Like,
Hmm.
and it's a little bit of the imposter syndrome, but it's also a little bit of like not necessarily like, you have to hear something in the way that actually resonates with you. So it's like you keep
Yes.
hearing the same information over and over and over again. But the second, like when somebody says it in a way that it's like light bulb, it'll click. And so I've been guilty of that, like sitting in other lawyers' classes. And like at the end of it, I'm like, you didn't teach me anything new, but that's okay. that's okay. At least boosted my confidence to know that, like, oh, I got
I
all
already
of
knew
that.
this. It at
Right.
least gives you the confidence to say, you know what, I already knew this. I need to
Exactly.
put in a work. And I think right now, while we seeing all of these trending words, like people saying boss and people saying they gatekeeping and people saying they, it's so many trendy words out there. But
Mhm.
right now, the trendiest word needs to be execution, because you can
Okay.
take so many classes, you can steal so much intellectual property from
Mhm.
someone, but can you execute at the level that they're executing?
That part. And that's
Do
what it
you have
is.
your
People
contracts
are,
in order to back you up? Right? Like,
yes.
what?
That part, and that's what it is. I'm like, people can they can steal the recipe, but it's like you still don't have like the special sauce, which is me at the end of the day. And so it's like, what's for you is for you. And so I generally don't worry about it to that extent, but I'm also not a creator who creates creative works in that sense.
Right.
And
A
so
bunch of
that
innovative
does
stuff.
become a problem. So one of the, like, to answer your question as far as like really protecting people stealing your stuff, and so copyrights protects like works of arts, right? So when you were talking about, planners, ebooks, these courses, blogs, photography, social media posts, all of those types of things, you're going to protect those under copyright. So one of the things that people usually don't know is that you actually have copyright protection as soon as you've created the work, as soon as it's a tangible work, right? So ideas are not protected. And this is where people mess up. You can't just be running around telling people your ideas, right? Because there's nothing that protects ideas. Copyright
Right.
is the closest thing to it, but it protects like the manifestation of those ideas. So if I have an idea for a story, and I'm like, oh, like I always like to give the Romeo and Juliet type story as an example. Like, how many times have we heard a story where two people come from two different worlds and, have to, defy all the odds to be together. And, sometimes they can't be together. So it ends catastrophically, all those things. We've seen numerous iterations of that same exact story because the idea is not protected. What is actually protected is the story of Romeo and Juliet, is the story of like these characters taking place in this set of time, the specific language that is used by William Shakespeare, all of those things. You cannot
Right.
copy this man's work and pass it off as your own. You cannot even make a rendition of his work without having his permission to do so. So
Right. You
um,
have to pay to play.
exactly.
Just like music.
Exactly.
Just
Right.
like music.
Absolutely. And so definitely copyrighting your works is very important. You want to register them with the Copyright Office. But like I said, you do have copyright protection the second you create it. But to have additional protections, you definitely want to register it with the Copyright Office. So one thing I tell people to do off the bat, everything that you're creating, just use the copyright notice, and encircle C and, the date that it was created or published. And that's at least letting the world know, like, hey, I'm asserting my rights and the fact that I own this is mine,
Hmm.
and it belongs to me. But definitely you want to, like I said, take that extra step and get it registered with the Copyright Office. As far as people stealing, like literally replicating your stuff, like I'm talking about like slide for slide of your courseworks and all of that, like you're going to hit them with a cease and desist as soon as you see that play out somewhere, and let them know, hey, this is my work, it was created on X, Y, and Z day. Throw
Hmm.
that copyright language at them as far as like, hey, you need to take my stuff down.
And create your
Or,
own.
right, exactly. Create your own. And a lot of times people may not listen, they're kind of like, hey, you blowing smoke. That's when an attorney, like I said, comes in, and we take it the extra steps because it's like, oh, okay, we're not even going to really deal with them. Like whatever platform that they've put this stuff up on, we're dealing with that. We're dealing with them because they
Right.
can be held vicariously liable for displaying.
Distributing.
Yes, exactly. So everybody can get it, and generally in those cases, because they're like, we're not trying to be sued, we don't want to get involved. So they'll take it down, like where the person
Right.
can't even like display it up on their website and stuff anymore. And
I
so
love
there
that.
definitely are ways to, go ahead and make sure your stuff is not being stolen, or if to the extent that it is, how you can go back and reclaim it. But yeah, like I said, it's just unfortunate that we really are out here stealing each other's stuff, like as
I
if
mean, it costs nothing to just say shout out to this person or my coach gave me this, or my whoever I worked with,
Right.
I learned this from this person. It's okay. You don't have to be the expert at every single thing. Like for me, for example, I have people on my team that are experts at certain things that may be weaknesses for me. And
Mhm.
so if it's a marketing thing, I'm going to say, I need to call Bree. This is a Bree thing. This is a tech support thing. I need to call Brian. If this is an admin thing or a booking, I cannot commit myself to booking because I'm going to double book, right? I have to call Kristen and figure out, can I do this? Am I available? Right? Because that is where I am in life. And initially, I wasn't like that. I could answer all the calls, I could answer all the texts, I could answer all the booking inquiries because I was managing it. But once you scale, right?
Mhm.
And that's another pivot
Mhm.
because you talked about your law office, you practicing law. What do you do at your law office? But you pivoted right
Mhm.
into lawyer mommy Lerae. So let's
Mhm.
talk about the pivot from being full-time lawyer to being lawyer mommy Lerae and what that offers and those digital products and how you got into the e-commerce side of not having to physically practice law every single day.
Yeah, so that was really more just to help the people out more than anything. So for me, like Lawyer Mommy Lerae and Funderburg Law coexist together. So Funderburg Law definitely was first. Lawyer Mommy probably came maybe like a year and a half into my business and me realizing that there were people who like, you know, my bleeding heart wanted to help, but my pockets were like, listen, I can't just be giving out all the juice for free.
Right.
Um, so that was part of that, like that transition for me for sure. And that is something that pretty much runs on its own, which I'm
Hmm.
like super, super grateful for because it was really just creating all of the things, creating the content, making that available, having all of the systems in place where like, okay,
Exactly.
yeah,
Oh, you
somebody
using
just,
those keywords. Y'all heard what you said? Systems in place
yeah,
so that Lawyer Mommy Lerae can run on its own
yes,
without her having to shove an ebook down your throat every single day, without her having to literally show you a different contract and go live and discuss and break this contract down. You know you need a contract, go get it and plug it and play everything, every place that you need to plug and play. If you need a
absolutely.
consultation, book a consultation. If
Mhm.
you need a lawyer on retainer, go ahead and get your paper together and book her as a retainer, right?
Absolutely.
But another transition that you discussed earlier as well, we talked on the side about it, but another transition that you talked about is your holistic side. And I always see your content. You just came back from out of town for like a month,
Bali,
right?
oh my God, Bali was a dream.
Just talk to us. Let us know how is that? How was that? Because me and my friends was talking this morning. It was like juicing is just I'm gonna pay somebody else to do it because it's a lot.
It is a lot. Now that is a commitment. I haven't even committed fully to just the life of juicing. Like that
Mhm.
is too much. It's too much. I'm like, I juice occasionally. I'm gonna get a smoothie in there, you know, but I still eat regular food.
Okay.
Vegan food, but I cook. Okay. So I'm like not just doing juices, but that is a very healthy lifestyle. And I will go on juice fast, like probably like once a quarter,
Mhm.
just for like 7 days, just to kind of clear out my system, flush out my mind, body, and soul, all of those things. But as far as my holistic practice, so I think it was like around 2020, I started to feel very like business was great. You know, my kids were wonderful. Like everything was good. Like from the outside looking in, I'm very happy. I
Always.
have all the things. I, you know, pretty much was living the life I wanted to live. But there was something that still felt very unsettling, you know, like something was still missing. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this thing? And so I started going on a search, you know, I'm like seeking out something.
Mhm.
Over time, I realized that it was like I had a lack of connection to spirit, right? And so I grew up in a house with my mom. She's like a Bible thumper, you know, she's always reading the Bible. And every time I did something she didn't like, you know, she's ready to rebuke me, you know, in the name of Jesus. And I'm like, I just never really like the church and Christianity wasn't something that I picked up on. Like And me and my mom, actually, we had a lot of issues growing up, so I was always kind of like, I don't know about this God that you over here praying to, because like if he got you acting like that, like I'm not signing up. So I was very much like, oh no, anti the church. um but I knew that I always had a sense of like, yes, there is a higher power, there is like a God, but I didn't have a connection to it. And so I was seeking that out. And then there was this book, Sacred Woman, that I have been trying to read for probably like 15 years. I don't know how many copies of it I bought. Every time I would pick it up, I'd be like, okay, it's a lot, right? It's not just like, a cute little
Just read and put
book,
down and read and put
right?
down. It's one of those.
This is like lifestyle changes, it's spiritual practices and observances, assignments that you're going to have to be doing throughout the process. It's work. And so at the beginning of 2021, I think it was, I picked the book up again. And I had decided I was going to take 3 months off from work. I sent the email out to everybody, all my clients, like, listen, I'm going on sabbatical. Y'all going to have to figure out your lives. I'm going to Jamaica. Like, boom, I'm out. And so I was going to Jamaica, packing me and my
Wow.
kids up. We were out, right? I go to take the test for COVID. We all test positive for it. I'm like, there's no way, because we felt fine. And so I'm ready to doctor up these test results, because I'm like, I done got my Airbnb. Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm about to
Not the lawyer trying to force the paperwork.
girl. I was like, no, we going to Jamaica. And so when I go to check us in for our flights, I realized my son's passport was expired. And so there was no getting around that. And I was like, okay, so now I'm stuck here for the next 3 months. But I kind of had the time free because I had already put all my clients on notice that I was taking the time off. And I was like, I'm still going to read this book. Like, that's it. And so I get into it. I'm starting it. And I'm like, it's a lot. I'm asking a couple of my friends who I thought might want to take the journey with me. They're like, no, not signing up. Sounds like way too much, too much for me. And so I'm like, okay, fine. And I think the next morning I was like, I had decided one day, like, you know what, I'm just going to take what bits and pieces of, the book that I can do, that I can like fully commit to, and just go from there. And so the next morning, after I had finally like, resolved that in my mind, I'm scrolling on Instagram. No, I hadn't even scrolled yet. I just pull up Instagram. That's what we do. First thing we wake up, we're on IG. Like, so I'm like, I open it up, and Queen Afua, who's the author of Sacred Woman, pops up on my, and now mind you, I have probably been following her for years, but she never showed up in
Pops
my
up on your timeline.
never.
Right.
So today she pops up, and it says she does like a program, a rites of passage program, where she guides people through the Sacred Woman book. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is exactly what I need, what I was looking for. And so I went through the rites of passage. It was supposed to be a 12-week journey. I feel like it ended up being 6 months, some kind of way. But in that process, like, I was able to heal from like a lot of the like trauma I had experienced, release a lot of like anger, resentment, forgive people who I needed to forgive. Like, things were just long overdue, and finally got to like a sense of like real peace. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, whoa, you hear people talk about this, but I didn't know it was like really a thing, and so now that I know it's really a thing, I'm like, oh no, people got to get this work, like, and I got to be the one to bring it to them. Like,
you definitely do.
Yes, that was definitely the start of like where it all sparks. And it has been definitely a journey for me, especially going back and forth, because I'm used to my cushy law firm salary and, trying to start a new business while like getting rid of the legal practice has been something that I've been struggling with, because I'm like, I mean, maybe I can do both, and it's really hard to try to do both. But
right, it is.
Yeah. And I'm like, because legal clients, they're gonna
very needy.
They're gonna run your whole life, Okay. So, and I think that's why it's taken me so long to get it off the ground. But I do have a couple of coaching clients that I've run through a program that I created. And in that, I actually recently just came up with a new program that I am going to launch. And it's centered around this mom wound because I realized that all the women that I was coaching, like even though I had like a set program, like, oh, we're gonna go over this week, and I'm like, we would spend like the first 5 to 6 weeks like going over this wound that they have from like their mommy issues. And I was like, oh, this is also very much a thing. And it's kind of taboo in I think the Black community because a lot of us were raised by just our moms. Like I know I was. And so it's like, okay, daddy already left us. And like, even though, you know, you may have a toxic, dysfunctional relationship with your mother, she's there, you know, like she's the one who's providing you with food, clothes, and shelter. You know, it's like, you know, we still have to respect this woman for all of the things that she is doing
Yes.
for you. You know what I mean? But like also recognize that there are some traumatic experiences that can come from that and how it affects everything, like the relationships that you have with other people, your sense of worth and self-esteem, and like all of those things. So like I'm like, I really feel like this is my like real body of work that I'm moving into right now. So this is the first time I'm talking about it with somebody.
Oh, y'all got it exclusive. Y'all know we love the exclusives over here.
So yeah, so that's where I'm at with it. But yeah.
I love that because speaking of just like being a mom, I was just talking and I wrote down a question for one of my friends also about this. But talking about being a mom, talking about being an entrepreneur, actually being a mom, actually being an entrepreneur, and living through the things that you have to live through, or keep going, or be strong, or be resilient, and all of these things. It's so many hats that we wear as moms, especially like you said. A lot of times when people are teen moms, they carry over things from the womb and that spills over to their kid. And I had somebody to give me a compliment the other day about my kid. And to most people, I'm probably quote unquote a young mom or whatever, but I'm literally 34. But my kid is almost 16. She'll be 16 in a few days. And they're like, oh my gosh, she's so respectful. She's so XYZ. She does this. I just love how she is. And it's like, that's a great compliment to me because, of course, and for her, she's representing herself. But when I'm not there and somebody comes back and give me a report, a great report about how she's well mannered, how she's this, how she's that, she's helpful, etc. And it's like, well, damn, I'm doing a great job on top of all of the other things that I'm juggling.
That part.
But on the flip side of that, moms have a lot of mom guilt that they deal with, right? Like, I can't go on this trip. I have to be here for my kid. I can't go to this event. I have to do this for my kid or bring my kid here or whatever. It's so many other feelings that we go through as mompreneurs, right? So I'm glad that your coaching is kind of making them come out of that shell and pretty much understand this is the root of it, right? Your mom did things this way, like you said, your mom was a Bible thumper, so naturally you like it got to be another way out there, right? Not saying that you don't believe in the Bible or you don't believe in anything, any higher power, right? But there's got to be another way, right? It's not always about putting medicines and toxins and stuff in your body. There's a whole holistic world out there that you can heal yourself from the earth. You can minimize the noise by getting to know yourself and gaining your own peace. Like, I'm glad that you went on a sabbatical. I'm glad that you go out of town, out of the country for months at a time. I'm glad that your kids get to experience that early on versus being an adult and it's like, oh, I never got on a plane. I never got on a cruise before. And that is an entirely different life as an adult, whereas you're providing these opportunities for your kids now and you're providing this space for yourself to live now and not once my kids get older, then I'll do this. And a lot of times moms, we put things off. We put it off. Oh, I'll do it later. Oh, I got to take care of my husband right now. I got to take care. And then you too old to even take care of you. You too old to even think about what it is that you like, you desire, what makes you happy. Because your whole entire life was about kids, husbands, sisters, brothers, mamas, everybody else, and not you. So we got to put us at the forefront. And I got to say this because Mother's Day is coming up.
Mhm.
Everybody has a mom, right? You wouldn't be here without a mom. Even if your mom wasn't present, wasn't the quote unquote best in your eyes or whatever the case may be, everybody has a mom. You may be a mom out there listening, and just give yourself grace.
Mhm.
Whatever makes you feel at peace, do that. Even if you're only able to do that for 1 hour a day, do
There's
it.
a whole sermon in here. Give thanks for that because they definitely need to hear all of that for sure.
A
And
hundred
I
percent.
even get it from my mom sometimes because she's like, "Oh, because when I went to Bali, I didn't take the kids. I was like, they'll go on the next trip, but this one was
Right.
for me, you know." I'm like, they get to go to plenty of places all the time, but she was very much like, "Oh, you're gonna leave them for all that time?" I'm like, "You'll be with them. Look, their daddy will be with them. Like, they will be fine. Like, they also have another parent,
A
you
support
know."
system, a village. The village, you know that
Exactly, a
village y'all say that
village,
we need?
right? Absolutely. Like, so, and I'm like, we have those conversations. Like, they understand, what when I'm leaving and what I'm doing it for. And they're excited about it. So, like, my daughter FaceTimed me most of the time I was there. She saw Bali, like, because she was
Right.
like, "Oh, let me see the pool. Let me see the elephant. Let me see, like, wanting to see everything." Like, so yes, I appreciate you definitely for saying that because it is a lot of times because we wear so many hats, it's like people just need to always understand, or mothers need to understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Like you have to fill yourself up first, and everything that's overflow, that's for everybody else. Like
Right.
you really have to pour into you because if you don't, like, who is? Like, who is? So,
Exactly. Okay, so we're gonna play a quick game right quick and then I'm
ooh.
gonna let you go. So the game is called This or That. I will throw out some suggestions. You have to choose one or the other. You cannot be indifferent on
Oh,
any decision.
okay.
Has to be one or the other. Okay, so the first one is flight or cruise.
Flight, definitely.
Why?
Oh, I saw Titanic one time too many, so I am petrified of the cruise.
Okay, so release to you, practicing law or just digital products?
Ooh, practicing law, actually.
Practicing law. That's a true lawyer. I figured you were gonna say that. I mean, passive income is cool, but
Yeah.
definitely getting in that courtroom and getting your point across and hearing that gavel bang in your favor,
Hmm,
I know that would be something that excites you as a lawyer.
absolutely.
What about ownership or rent?
Um, it depends. I'm like, oh no, I forgot. Okay, ownership. Look, I forgot I can't be indifferent.
Ownership. Okay, cash or credit?
Ooh, I'm a cash girl. I am. I
You
am.
a cash girl. I'm gonna fuss
Yes.
about that later. I ain't gonna fuss
Yes,
until
you know what? I need to probably book a consult with you, so we can make the transfer. But I am. But we'll talk about it for real, for real.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so date night or girls' night?
Girls' night. Girls
Girls'
just want
night.
to
I
have
love it.
fun.
Travel with the kids or travel with your hubby?
Travel with the kids. There is no
Travel with the
husband
kids.
yet.
Travel with the kids. Okay, okay. One more. Let me think. This one got to be good. Would you prefer loyalty or respect?
Loyalty.
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 Loyalty. So
Yeah.
y'all heard it here first. Lerae is rolling out a new coaching program. Of course, you can reach her at Elevate elevatelegally.com, and you can also reach her on Instagram at Lawyer Mommy Lerae. She is, of course, the owner of Funderburg Law. If you need help with contracts, if you need help with copyrights, if you just need help from a lawyer, if you're an artist, a business owner, anything like that, you definitely need to reach out to Lerae and contact her and get your information, your intellectual property protected soon, okay? Sooner than later. I appreciate you all for coming on and listening to Comma Convos. Again, I am Dricka Carter, the host and executive producer of Comma Convos. And each and every Wednesday, we bring somebody in that is winning in their particular industry. We appreciate you guys for joining and listening live. And y'all have a great Wednesday. Thank you, Lerae.
Thank you. Bye.